This is what we trying to protect. Okay, that's a thing. Okay, that's a thing. Okay. But I'm only gonna say male.
When I jumped on the internet, bitch, I told everybody that I had a dick and titties, bitch. That I had a dick and titties, bitch.
Why is that?
I told everybody.
Why is that?
I told everybody, unfactual asshole. Unfactual asshole.
You know why? Because you don't demand it. You know why? Because you're a pygmy. A man cannot add to your womanhood.
Facts. Those are facts. Unfactual asshole.
And as soon as y'all hear somebody say something transphobic, it excites you. Sweetie, why is that? Y'all baby daddies and y'all husband that be pillow talking to us? You know what? I don't have nothing to say. You know why? Because I don't give a fuck about you. And for you women out there that are trying to pick and choose who you want to allow to be a woman, that's not your place. You don't have that power, my love. Because if you were all the woman that you needed to be, or that you thought you were, you wouldn't be bothered by no bitch. Do you know why trans women are able to get up and move through society when everybody is against us and feel absolutely nothing and be one of the most confident, one of the most beautiful, one of the most talented, one of the most kind people you will ever know? Because we are confident and comfortable with who we are. We don't need not one person to agree with us. We don't need not one person to validate us. We don't need one person to affirm us.
If people slip up, if people acknowledge you by the energy that you give off, at what point is that your ownership? At what point do you take accountability for that? I sincerely hope that you're in the space to give this conversation a chance. Something I want you to remember is positive and negative as I talk about this. Think about the different things that I say and how you've been programmed to see them in either a positive or negative way. This is just my observation for educational purposes only. Don't take this as an excuse for you to pile on or to express your hate for any particular group. So I was thinking, a lot of trans women lead with masculine energy. This is just my observation, as I said, but I noticed that trans women, notice is never trans men. They're never an issue for the public. But trans women, especially ones that operate out of masculine energy, still still operating out of that, what's the word I'm looking for? Not patriarchy. Fuck it. For lack of better words and memory slipping at the moment, there's a lot of aggression there. It's a lot of qualities that when we see it in a man, we're okay with it. But when it's supposed to be feminine energy and it leads with masculinity, we question it. We look at it with a side eye and we're like, you want me to see you this way, but you present that way. And now let me just take a break here and bring some nuance in this for you. Take someone like this. Because she, a natural born woman, from what we're told, not for real, and like so many other women who have deep voices or qualities that we would attribute to being masculine, the first thing when somebody wants to attack them or go at them and say they call them manly. So I don't know why we would think it'd be different for someone who was born a man or male who transitioned to female that operates out of masculine energy, that's not passable, that's clockable, as y'all would say. Why don't we see them as possibly getting the same accusations or the same labeling? Because let's say that you are passable, even if your voice is softened and all those things, or let's say it's not. Let's just keep you on the same playing field, because natural born women can have deep voices, so that's fine. We'll leave the voice alone. But it's something about that male aggression, that masculine aggression that's there. For starters, most people don't look at trans women and see them as being this bonus gender. Most women, most men, most people in society see trans women as that person's idea of what it means to be a woman, that person's interpretation of womanhood. And so if you think about if you are born a certain way and someone else is playing dress up, for lack of better words again, in your gender, in your identity, it's like, I'm a woman and I don't act like that. I'm a woman and that's not me. Are you saying that's what it means to be a woman? Like, you get that type of pushback. So I'm just adding this here because I hope that part makes sense, that Black women in particular already see gay men as trying to emulate them. So you take it a step further and you identify as a trans woman, then Black women are going to say, hell no. I'm the blueprint. Why are you trying to say that this is what it means to be a woman? And I'm making this leap and I'm getting there because society doesn't have a problem with trans men. We don't have an issue. We don't see anybody talking about trans men being on the men's team and the disadvantage or the advantage they have because they were born female and now they're transitioned to male. Those just don't seem to be conversations that are being had. Those aren't issues that are being brought up. No one's worried about a trans man going into the men's bathroom. And I think that's because largely as society, we still see trans men as being less than or being the other sex or being female. Not seen as a threat. Again, I'm thinking through this. So hit the dislike and do all that other shit if you're being too sensitive. But I'm not saying this is how I look at it. I'm saying that if people slip up, if people acknowledge you by the energy that you give off, at what point is that your ownership? At what point do you take accountability for that? Because even the whole passable thing, right? We know that there are some women that are naturally born women that are unattractive in society's eyes at large. And some of those women get questioned because of their features, because they are so hard, because they are so manly. I feel another component of this is colorism, because light-skinned men are considered to be soft and weak, but dark-skinned men are considered to be masculine and tough and strong. And those of us in between are seen to be as, are seen as something in between. But think about the First Lady, Michelle Obama, and how people questioned her gender at birth, and they considered her to be masculine. And I don't think it had to do with her arms or anything else other than her being a dark-skinned woman in a position that people felt like she should not have been in. Name me a light-skinned woman, and I'm not talking about Jocelyn Hernandez, because I don't know as a people if you're considering Jocelyn to be Puerto Rican or light-skinned, black, whatever. Name me somebody who's not dark-skinned that y'all have questioned her gender. You did it to Serena Williams, Jess Hilarious, Tasha K, because you see light-skinned women as being soft and feminine, and you see dark-skinned women as being masculine and aggressive. And it might hurt for you to hear that, but you've been programmed to see it that way. Every time when the pretty boy love interest was light-skinned and the antagonist was darker and rougher, it just reinforced that image. Even when cartoons was showing us that girls need saving and boys were the ones to do it, it reinforced that women were helpless and inferior to men. And so when things show up in an unexpected way from how we've been trained to see them or recognize them, we question it. Just like back in the day, at least when I was growing up, we classified everything that was not straight as gay. It was kind of a while before lesbian came around, and even much longer before transgender. And even then, in the early days of identifying something as gay in the South, somehow, for some reason, straight people thought that it meant the person wanted to be the opposite of what you knew them as. So if you were a man, it meant that you wanted to be a woman. And if you're a woman, it meant that you wanted to be a man. It wasn't that you were attracted to the same sex. I remember how confused people were with the label of being bi. It's like, wait, so you like men and you like women? I don't get that. So why can't you just pick? But which one do you like more? Have you always liked both? And all the stupid questions that came with it. Think about the feminine gay men who show up confidently in their femininity. But if you call them femme, they take it as a negative. But you're happily, confidently feminine. So why is feminine a negative for you? Why is masculine positive? I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm just spitballing, but I also feel like a lot of the misgendering comes from within the house. The call is coming from in the house because a lot of trans women are used to occupying gay spaces before they transitioned. And so they still want to toe that line. It's trans women, once they transition, they don't want you to call them trannies, but they're okay with still calling you a faggot because they used to be people that identified and that would get called and labeled faggots. Even going with the example I showed you of this person, I think their issue with this person is that people call both of them a man in a disrespectful manner. And this person feels as though that this person deserves it, but not them. I was born with a pussy, I just got a deep voice. There was even some scenario over I want to say maybe it was last summer or maybe it was during the winter when there was these trans women that were being kicked out of a VIP section in Texas, I believe it was, because someone else was clocking them and was like telling the guy that invited them to their section, it's like, oh, they're not real women, right? Those are men. And when those women went to tussling and was putting their hands on the trans women, those trans women did not fight back. I guess they just knew how the public would see it, or maybe they're naturally not fighters. But they were operating out of feminine energy, and the internet felt sympathy for them. But when you have figures like this and this and this who lead with the masculine energy they were born with, no matter how much they enhance themselves, they're still operating out of masculine space. They're still operating with masculine energy. And that's how society sees them. As men playing dress up, cosplaying as women, making women look a fool. So perhaps it's being perceived as a man telling a woman, again, how to be a woman, how to show up in the world, and how to be in her place. Being Black, understand all the nuances of all of this. It can be seen the same way as if you just comply, if you just show up this way, if you dress better, if you are polite. Respectability politics, that's what I'm trying to say. And still you could present as more feminine, but if a person doesn't see you as worth respecting, they won't. I'm just talking through this, hoping that I can start a conversation, a dialogue that makes you think. If you've made it this far, please hear me and understand that I'm not trying to correct you in how you show up in the world. And as a man, I might not even be the right person to start this conversation, because what I've witnessed in the comment sections is that it doesn't matter if you're a part of the group or if you're from the outside speaking on it. If you're part of the group, then it's, why are you doing this? I thought that you'd be protecting us. But then if you are from the outside, then it's, we don't want to hear this from you. No one likes to be accountable or called out for their bullshit. And that's the problem. because nobody in your community is going to call you out, but they'll just talk about you behind your back or weaponize it at some point. So it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So trust me, I've weighed all of these things before even thinking about putting out this video, but I don't want to say I don't give a shit, but nobody else is talking about it. Nobody else is saying or stating the obvious. You're still operating out of that man energy. So of course, women and to men and everyone else, you're going to come across as just another man being a man and doing man shit. I have a doctor that's trans, and at my same doctor's office, there's a nurse that's trans. And my brain fucks up their pronouns all the time. Understand it's not intentional. It's simply the energy that I get from each individual. And I'm not saying that because I fuck up, they should be okay with it and that I'm right and they're wrong. And, I'm just simply saying that if your energy reads she, her, I'm likely to refer to you as she, her. It's not about it being an inconvenience. It's just unnatural. It's the same when people know you by one name and then you legally change it. It just takes some getting used to for those people, but for people that are new to meeting you and they only know you by that one name. And I suspect it's easier for people that go into meeting someone that's already transitioned, but it's also harder for someone that's been on the journey with them. To where I met you, you were she, her, and now today you are he, him, but your energy still reads she, her. Whereas the other person that I'm speaking of, when they transitioned, it was different because their energy shifted to match the outside. And is that more digestible because this person is, quote unquote, falling in line with what we expect in society? Is she being true to herself or is she conforming? Because if she went from being very bro-like while presenting as a man, then is it all just a performance based on how we want to be perceived in society? And the other person, they went from she, her to he, him, but they were still very feminine. They still like to paint their nails. They still wore makeup. And in those two situations, besides my little fuck-ups, and they know that it's not intentional, but they don't seem to live this hard life full of difficulties and aversions and challenges. And even still, I'm just an outsider, so who the fuck am I to say? This is just speculation over small talk and knowing that they still have a great connection with their family and they spend holidays with their family and they're very close and supportive. So this is just my naive brain basing this off of things that other trans people and gay people say that they wish they had that their straight counterparts have. I don't think you have to change who you are for the rest of the world to catch up to being able to accept you. But I do think that you have to understand that while the world is not at that place, you're fighting a battle uphill. And sure, by you doing it, you give somebody else confidence. But there really is no but. Just understand that and know what you're battling. Because I don't want to be a man who's doing the same thing that I'm accusing these trans women of doing while operating out of their masculinity. I'm just bringing something from the dark into the light for you all to see, to look at, and to give your weigh in on it. And now I'll step back. Let me know, how did I do? I hope I didn't piss you off too fast. And if you made it this far, thank you for being here. Subscribe if you want to, like if it moved you. Till the next time I see you, deuces. Enjoy your day.
Talking spicy. Yeah.
Nobody asked my opinion, but I'm gonna give it.